At a recent public accounts meeting, Danny Richard, president of the Canadian Financial Officers, testified that between the three departments in question here, there are over 1,000 members in those departments, including 5 members who flagged issues with management. But we understand that very few, perhaps a dozen of these financial officers were actually involved in this procurement process. Mr. Moore, are you concerned by this?
So I'm concerned by a number of the points Mr. Richard made, and I do regularly communicate with him, and I want to identify what more we can do to actually improve the financial manager organisation within the within CBSA. But, you know, sort of where we are in terms of the delegation of financial instruments is the majority of the controls are at the manager level, and we then have financial manager advisors who are engaged in the strategic financial management. They do not sign task authorizations, they do not sign invoices and Section 32 and Section 34 responsibilities. But if they identified wrongdoing or any issues associated with that, they would be responsible for bringing them forward to us.
Well, thankfully, there were problems identified and nothing happened, and I think that's on you, sir. I want to move on, though, but we know there are a number of current investigations ongoing in a number of venues, but most concerning is obviously the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, the Mounties. Our concern here is that Min Doan's emails have magically disappeared. The Chief Technology Officer couldn't save his emails, which is rather concerning, rather than perplexing, and I'm sure the RCMP are very intrigued and interested by that. I want to know from you, Mr. Moore, what are you doing to recover those emails?
So that is subject to an internal investigation and potentially also an RCMP investigation. I'm not privy to either of those investigations, so I can't comment on where they are. In terms of what we are doing to recover those emails, maybe I'll ask Mr. Vleeming to explain.
Thank you. So this is actually being run by our internal investigation as well, including the recovery side of things to ensure there's no conflict of interest. And so I'm not aware of any more information, not privy to that internal investigation.
To you, Mr. Vleeming, how easy is it to permanently delete all your emails without a trace?
It is actually surprisingly easy. The reality is that Shared Services Canada is accountable for email and the policies around that, and a person can choose to delete their emails. It is retained for 30 days where they can't permanently, and after that it is deleted.
Surprisingly easy. I am quite frankly shocked by the fact that the Government of Canada, with all the resources of the state behind it, cannot preserve the emails of someone in a position like Min Doan when there is a criminal investigation ongoing and these documents simply disappeared. I think that's incredibly concerning. I want to move on. Mr. Hayes, to you. In your opening comment, you echoed many of the concerns that were previously raised by yourself and by the Auditor General about lack of records, not having paper trails, just things not existing. We received a letter recently from the Department of Public Services and Procurement Canada, the supposed experts on procurement. And the Assistant Deputy Minister wrote this: on February 2nd, 2017, PSPC awarded a contract to GC Strategies for $24,977 through a supply arrangement for professional services to provide business and technical learning to PSPC employees using a new client relationship management system. A search of PSPC systems found references to the contract, including the total amount. However, the contract document itself was misplaced during a reorganization and relocation of hard copy files. So the department is supposed to be the experts on procurement is losing documents on procurement and on contracts. What's more, Treasury Board Secretariat, a central agency, wrote to us and said, on behalf of the Treasury Board Secretariat, we have a nil response to expanded motion is provided, no response to GC Strategies, yet in the Public Accounts of Canada, it lists GC Strategies as having received an account or the contract for the Treasury Board Secretariat. So here we have two key agencies, neither of which can account for their own contracts with GC Strategies. Is that a concern from the Auditor General's office?
We would expect that proper books and records are kept on contracts and on payments made under those contracts for the full period of the retention periods required by law. So Obviously, there are times where hard copies might be misplaced, and it's important to find them. We've constantly made recommendations and findings about the importance of good record management and accurate data collection. So, yes, I would express concern over the fact that contract documents can't be located.
Thank you very much. That's your time, Mr. Nader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and again, thank you to our witnesses. Mr. Moore, could you confirm for us how many employees of CBSA are currently actively engaged in outside employment or contracting?
Cannot confirm that number, but I can ask the CBSA to come back to you with a number because that would be the Human Resources branch.
So you're telling me you came to this committee meeting unprepared to answer that question, given the fact that this has been a topic of discussion for some weeks?
My understanding is that there has been a question raised and they would be giving a response and they are now doing a check of everybody to make sure that they have a full disclosure before they come up with a definitive number.
Are you personally aware of any employees within CBSA who have outside employment or outside contracts?
So I personally was involved in a conflicts of interest discussion last year for one of my employees who was proposing to take on an unpaid role, and actually we perceived that to be a conflict of interest, and it went through the standard process. So the evidence was gathered by our Human Resources branch. We discussed the process with the individual concerned, and actually the decision was that they decided to withdraw from that because there was at least a perceived conflict of interest. So I am aware of the process which is being operated, but it's operated by our Human Resources branch.
On the other side, are you aware of any contracts currently at CBSA which involve employees from other government departments?
So we, as a result of the investigations which are ongoing, we have done some searches of GEDs. We have identified some individuals who are in GEDs, which would, if you're in GEDs, it implies you're an employee of another government department. And we have therefore contacted those departments and worked through each of those individuals. I think it was around about 6 or 7 individuals, and the Director General responsible for that has confirmed with the other government department that there was no conflict in those cases. However, that work is ongoing.
So I just want to stop you for a second. You say there was no conflict, but they are in fact government employees who have contracts with CBSA. Is that correct? Can you confirm that there are government employees, public servants, at other departments who currently have active contracts with the Canada Border Services Agency? Are you confirming that, yes or no?
So I cannot confirm that, but we can get back to you with the details of that individual.
Sir, I'm going to stop you right there. You said that they were checked in GEDs. They confirmed with the departments and the Director General that they were in fact employees of those departments. You said 6 or 7 of them, but now you're unwilling to confirm that?
No, what I'm saying is 6 or 7 were checked. But I do know for a fact that some of those were inappropriately on GEDs. They had actually resigned and moved elsewhere.
So and again, of those 6 or 7, how many of them are Government of Canada employees with contracts at CBSA?
So I do not have that details, but I can...
Sir, you just said there were 6 or 7. It's a small number. And you tell me you can't confirm one way or the other?
I can't confirm because it wasn't in my area, but we can
confirm. Sir, you are the Chief Financial Officer of the CBSA. You came here knowing that this would be a topic of discussion. You're unable to tell us this information. Yet you seem to have this information of the process that happened. You seem to have the information that these checks were done, but you can't tell us what actually happened?
I'm willing to come back to you on the level of details for these individuals.
Okay, sir, obviously there's been a process undertaken. This information is obviously at hand. Can you confirm and provide that information to this committee by the close of business today?
I'll have to go back to the department to see if I have it.
Could you make the endeavour that you'll try to do that by close of business today?
I will go back to the department and talk to the DG who was responsible for this.
Your non-answers are frankly surprising.
Let me just interject, Mr. Nader. I appreciate the information will be forthcoming as soon as possible. Mr. Nader, the committee does allow for some time. I appreciate your determination to get to the bottom of this, but Mr. Moore, if you're able to, that's wonderful. But as soon as possible, and we will reach out at some point. Mr. Nader, back to you for a minute.
Because there may also be some privacy impact, which I can't comment on.
Again, privacy is not an issue. As you well know, sir, this Parliament and this committee can compel information from witnesses at any degree, and privacy and any of those issues are not impediments to providing information. This committee, and you as a senior public servant, ought to know the powers of committees to call for information and documents. On a different matter, 3 information technology contractors were found to have fraudulently billed for contract work with several departments between 2018 and 2022. These payments were estimated to be nearly $5 million. You were asked this question by my colleague, Mr. Brock, in a previous committee. Can you now confirm whether any of those firms did work with the Canada Border Services Agency?
So as I said at the previous committee appearance, the Public Services and Procurement Canada informed us that the CBSA was involved, and the involvement were estimated up to $15,000. They have not come back and given us the details yet.
When do you expect that information to be forthcoming?
I'll have to go back to PSPC and ask them.
So the exact same answer you basically gave a week and a half ago.
I think we have had the Easter period in between.
Yes, we did have two days there that were
10 seconds, Mr.
statutory holidays. Chair, I will just conclude by saying I look forward to that information on double dipping coming to this committee as expeditiously as possible, because it is a concern for many Canadians.